You've probably heard that your nervous system gets activated when you experience a loss. But do you know the things that you can do to redirect, reprogram, and restore your nervous system when you're going through grief and loss? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. Hey there, I'm Kelli Nielsen, and after going through my own tremendous loss, I created a faith-based and neuroscience-informed process to help people get back to living a life that they love. In this video, I'm going to be sharing 3 practical tools that can help restore health and well-being to your nervous system and get you well on your way for healing. So let's dive right in. The first thing you need to understand, which we've discussed in several other videos, is the fact that your nervous system is always responsive and responding to what's happening in the present moment. And what's happening in the present moment, I mean what you're thinking in the present moment. Your brain is always paying attention to the thoughts that you're thinking, and it's creating patterns and loops based on the thoughts that you think repetitively. Now, the tough part about this is when we're grieving, naturally, we think a lot about the person that we lost. We can tend to be consumed by and dwell in the pain of the loss. The fact that they're no longer physically here seems to consume us on every level, physically, emotionally, and certainly neurologically. But like I said, what we're going to be talking about in this video is 3 things that you can do to interrupt and then rewire that thought process in a helpful and healthy way. Okay, so the first most important one is interrupting the loop. When you catch yourself spiraling or looping or kind of going down that rabbit hole of thinking the thoughts and feeling the feels about the fact that your person is lost, the first and most important thing that we need to do is interrupt that loop. We need to stop it from continuing to get stronger and more fortified in our mind. So I guess even before that step is awareness. We have to be aware of what we're thinking. And then when we catch ourselves going on the thought loop around grief and loss, we need to interrupt that loop. And there's several ways that you can interrupt that loop, but I'm going to share with you one really simple way to redirect your focus and interrupt that loop. It's a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 model. So look around and find 5 things that you can see. Then listen for 4 things that you can hear. And then 3 things that you can feel, that you can touch, right? And then 2 things that you can smell, and then 1 thing that you can taste. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. By doing this, you're giving your mind other things to do, to occupy yourself with other things. And you'll find as you do this exercise, you really have to stop and think. Even right now, I have to look around and intentionally find 5 things that I can see and listen for the things I can hear and be mindful of what are 3 things that I'm touching. So that is a great interrupter. So being aware of your thoughts and then interrupting that thought loop as soon as it happens is the first step and the first tool. Now, if you're watching this video and you're like, Kelli, this makes sense, but I seem to be consumed with grief all the time. I don't even know when it starts or stops to try to interrupt it. If you need some help identifying your thought life and practically working through that, check out the link below. We have tools to be able to help you to do that. But the second thing, once we've interrupted the thought loop, is that we need to do something somatic with our body, right? We need to move our body because grief, like I said, is a neurological issue, it's an emotional issue, and it's a physical issue. So it moves through your body. So it's important that we interrupt the thoughts, but it's equally important that we move our body. There's several ways that you can move your body, several somatic exercises that you can do to kind of integrate this mind-body connection and reaction. The first one I want to recommend is breathing exercises. And there are several breathing exercises. You can actually do a deep dive on all different types of breathing exercises. But I want to explain why breath work and breathing exercises are so powerful and so important for grief recovery. For me, the reason that breath work is so powerful is that breath is one of the only things that is connected to both your subconscious and your conscious mind. As you know, when you're sleeping, when you're not paying attention, you don't have to consciously decide to breathe. You breathe all the time without your conscious effort. But breathing is also one of those things that you can tune in and become consciously aware of. This is a really beautiful space where our subconscious mind and conscious mind sort of come together. So just by focusing on your breath, honestly, if you did nothing more than just pay attention to that you're inhaling and exhaling, inhaling and exhaling is going to calm everything down. It's going to bring that subconscious conscious mind connection together, and it's going to release calming chemicals and hormones in your mind and body. But the one I'm going to teach you is box breathing. This is a widely known tool in stress response recovery kind of communities. So box breathing is where you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold your breath for a count of 4, you exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold your breath for a count of 4. And the sort of magical number is 3 sets. So if you do that 4 count box, breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, breathe in, hold, breathe out, makes a box, counts of 4. If you do 3 sets of that, that is the magical amount to release the positive hormones and chemicals in your mind and to receive the benefit in your body. So box breathing is one that I would recommend. Like I said, there are a lot of different breath work exercises that you can do, and by simply paying attention to your inhale and exhale, it's going to accomplish it. I wrote down a couple other somatic ones, so I just want to make sure we get it. Movement, just movement, stretching, yoga, again, to move and get your body going. And actually short bursts of intense movement is really going to do a lot to break up that emotional energy that is residing in your body. That's going to be great for you. And then it might seem obvious, but crying is a physical relief. And so if you feel like you have that pent up energy or emotion, go ahead and have a good cry, let it out. All of these things are going to do wonders for releasing the emotions that we are carrying in our body. And emotions are the direct result of the thoughts that we think, right? So when we have thoughts, it produces a physical and emotional response, and we want to do something to help that process through. We're not stuffing, we're not minimizing, we're not ignoring, we're helping it process through. And we know that grief and grieving is a process. It needs to work its way through. And then the last tool, so just to recap, remember, we want to interrupt the loop. We want to move our body. We want to do something physically to help the feelings process through. And then lastly, and this is mostly what I help people do, is we want to reframe the thought. And this is where people can get lost in the weeds or have the most trouble with this step. So like I said, this is the piece that I work the most with folks about. But if you can identify what is the thought that brought us on this spiral, what was the originating thought that was so problematic? If we can identify what that is, we want to gently reframe it into a thought that is helpful and productive. So I wrote down some examples. For example, if the thought is, my life is over without them, and you're upset and you're spiraling on that, and a change could be, my life is forever changed, and I'm learning how to live with that change. You see how both sentences are true, but one carries a very heavy emotional charge, and it can help us feel hopeless and helpless. And the other one is still not minimizing the loss, recognizing that your life is forever changed, but you're learning how to live with that change. Such a lighter feeling, such a healthier thought to embody. And my dog is going to bark. Gracie wanted to hop on. Okay, a couple other examples. I should have prevented this. If you have the woulda, coulda, shouldas, that's a very common thing. People can feel stuck in guilt and shame. So if the thought that you have is, I should have prevented this, here's a helpful alternative. If I could have stopped this, I would have. I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. That's a beautiful sentence to understand that we all are doing the best that we can do at any given time, right? And beating yourself up and hanging on to the idea that you should have done something differently doesn't change what did happen, and it certainly doesn't help you to heal. Okay, here's another thought. People may say, I will never be okay again, or I'll never recover. You can change that to, I don't feel okay right now, and it's possible that over time, with support, this will soften. I would even get bolder with the language to say that even though I may be experiencing pain right now, I'm learning how to experience joy and peace and love again. And I also like people to make these statements to be present tense and active. Every day we are learning and growing and changing and evolving. And so if we can be continually thinking and saying that no matter what you feel like in your present moment, you are changing. And the thoughts that you think and the words that you speak are planting the seeds for the change that you're going to see tomorrow. See, the feelings that you're feeling today are always old news. Your feelings you're experiencing in this present tense are based on thoughts that you thought previously. Things that happened in the past have produced this result of the feeling you're experiencing right now. So if you don't like the feeling that you're experiencing right now, it's vitally important, number one, that we interrupt that loop. We figure out as best we can the thought that generated that feeling, and then we plant a new seed. We sow a new thought so that we can have a new feeling the next day. So retraining your brain is absolutely possible, and it takes consistent, intentional work. But I want to encourage you, and if you've been watching these videos, you'll know that it's 21 days to implant a new thought and 63 days for it to become automatic. So commit yourself to this work. Do it daily for 63 days, and your grief recovery will be forever transformed. I hope this video serves you. We'll see you next time.